Welcome to episode 7 of Neer Sighted Podcast. I'm Brandon, and with me is my co-host, Big John Eisner. How's it going, John?
Oh, it's going. It feels really good, Brandon, to be 8-4. 8-4 did not feel like a realistic possibility, but here we are, and it feels pretty good.
Yeah. It feels definitely like a dream compared to where we thought, everyone, not just us, but where we thought we were going to be going into the season. And with that, I will announce the title, which we don't normally do. We usually, kind of come up with a title before we release the episodes, but episode 7 is going to be simply titled 14. And I think everybody knows why.
For sure. All those people in the media that thought they were so smart, thought they knew ball, Brandon, put us 14th. And now everybody wants to talk about, well, look at the schedule. They looked at the schedule. That's how they came up with the 14. And they were still
everyone
dead
saw
wrong.
the schedule. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not like the schedule changed mid-season.
Well, it did for the people who don't like Neil Brown. It just every other game It was he has to win this game to prove it. But we've talked about that. It's just
I guess the other thing to mention, Brandon. Other thing to mention is he's back. He's not going
Officially
anywhere. Officially announced.
Yep.
Neil Brown will be the head coach next season, and rightfully so. He should be.
Yeah, there was only one way he wasn't going to be the coach. John, you remember what that was?
Oh, trust me, I do. I took a little heat from some of my friends from this, but I'm telling you, I still hold this to be true. If the $70 million man just called and said, "Hey, I want to be the head coach, and I'll take a little bit less money," I don't know if Neil Brown would be the head coach right now. I also still want to point something out, Brandon. I don't think we ever talked about it on this show, but you and I talked about it. You didn't buy into it like I did, but I still think if Stoops leaves Kentucky, like if he would have gone to Texas A&M, I still think there's a chance Brown goes to Kentucky. That's all I'm saying. I'll leave it at that. But we're blessed that didn't happen.
Yeah, so blessed. I'm sure everyone agrees with that.
Yeah.
So
I'm truly blessed.
So let's recap. It's been about a week now. Let's recap what happened down there in Waco and see how the season turned out altogether, and then we'll get into some bowl projections and some season awards that we created this year.
Heck yeah. Let's at the top of it though, Brandon, look, everybody, the initial reaction, I think, was people looked at Baylor, and we did too. I mean, we're guilty of it as well.
Yeah.
We looked at Baylor as the Baylor that started this season and got to midseason. Had we put a narrow focus on the last 3 or 4 games of them, I think we could have seen this coming a little bit better. Because they played well.
I mean,
against us, obviously, and 3 games before that, they were playing pretty decent.
Yeah. I mean, this also is a game that should have never been anywhere near the score that it was. You had 2 touchdowns on kickoff returns, which hasn't happened to West Virginia since like 1920 or something. So
I think it was 1905.
Yeah, that's just there you go, even worse. So they were we
lost,
might go to the
I think
First
we lost
World
by
War,
80
but
that game. I think we lost to 80 by that game, and I'm not even kidding. I think we actually lost by 80.
I thought it was like 100. I thought it was like 100-0 or something like that.
It was something. It was at the time that we were like the equivalent of shoot, not even Fairmont State, WVUP, West Virginia University at Parkersburg. Like that's what we were the equivalent of in football at the time.
Yeah, that they I don't know. I can't really comprehend how it happens twice in one game in today's football. There's so many things that you can do differently with all the different kickoff rules to make somebody not be able to field a ball. But yeah, I just don't get it. But again,
we're going to talk about it.
I don't think
we're
that
going to talk about it.
Yeah, I guess we have to, don't we?
Yeah. Let's go to the offense.
Let's start with the offense.
Start with offense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's look at some good stuff. Brandon. You start us up.
Well, I've got a couple guys I like to call my boy on this team, right?
Oh, boy.
And Garrett Green's my boy.
I know.
And he had a day. I mean, this should have been a game again where we won by 20 points. And I think there would have been a lot more praises for Garrett Green. But 16 of 25, 269 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's a heck of a game for someone who was picked to be the worst starting quarterback in college football.
Incredible. Look, for now on, I'm calling him Garrett. I ain't going nowhere Green. Because he was like, he's like me, right? Like, I pick up the phone in episodes. He doesn't. He's not picking up the phone for any other university. He's staying in Morgantown. He already announced it, said, I don't care. I'm sure Toothman Ford threw him another, truck or whatever they do, which is great. I'm not, no problem there for me. I love that they're doing that because that keeps kids like Garrett in Morgantown. Loyal to the program, obviously, loyal to Neil Brown. I think if Neil Brown would have been gone, he wouldn't have been here. I will say that.
Yeah, possibility for sure.
Great game by him. You're right. He was the guy who everybody looked at as going to be the worst quarterback in the Big 12. Brandon, he finished, according to PFF, as the seventh highest graded quarterback in the entire NCAA Division I. Not the Big 12. Not the Big 12.
Yeah.
Overall. But we want to pretend like all of this, all these people in media know exactly what they're talking. They have no idea what they're talking about. They're guessing. Everybody's guessing.
Yeah.
You look at the tape.
I mean, to be fair,
that's what this was.
No one even had an idea that Garrett was as good as he was going to be. I mean, he can definitely get better for sure. But you're talking like 6 games in. He had a little come out party at Houston, which was a loss again. But it was the first game where he got healthy and he really was able to open up the playbook and kind of do some things. And obviously, Houston, not the best defense, but he can just continue to keep doing that every week outside of Oklahoma, which was just overall botched job, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that rightfully so, he was, definitely the most improved player of the year for me as far as expectations versus what came about. And just even from a few games in, I mean, he's still missing some of those easy passes that we talk about. He definitely has some footwork things that he needs to work on, but you can't tell me that there's somebody continuously throwing the deep ball better than him. I mean, he's putting it in tight windows. His one interception was in the end zone was going to Jalen Anderson, which we talked about at the Houston game. Was a perfectly thrown ball. He couldn't have put the ball any like better spot, and obviously it turned out to be an interception because Jalen Anderson tipped it. But yeah, I mean, the guy he's great downfield. He's got an off season. He's definitely got to work on the layup throws and things like that. But this guy has definitely come into his own and is going to be a name next year. I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, look at the plays that he made against Baylor. You're right, though. We've talked about it, I think, every single week. His footwork is still not good. I think that's the best way to categorize it as right now. And that's just because he's a mobile quarterback, and I think when you see him have time, he goes through his reads, he looks great, but I think when he gets just a little bit of pressure, he kind of turns it up, and he needs to just calm down, and he'll get there, and he is getting there. You don't get graded that high by PFF, for no reason. So great for him. He had a great game. He's had a great season. He has also, the big thing that no one talks about with him is, maybe he's missed some throws. Yeah, maybe he's taken off running whenever he, should have handed the ball off or even just thrown the ball away. But he's not what I would call a turnover machine. The guy doesn't turn the ball over. And that's what you want in your quarterback, especially in an offense like ours, because we're set up as a spread offense, but really, in all honesty, our quarterback has to be somewhat of a game manager. Garrett can do that, but he also can take control of the game, and that's rare to see with a guy like him. So I have nothing but confidence in him moving forward. Another guy that I've got plenty of confidence in moving forward is, I'm going to call him this for now on. I think this whole podcast, me and you should never call him Jaheim again. It's Jaheim White. 17
Yes.
carries, 133 yards. That's 7 yards per carry average. Incredible. The guy is electric on the field. I don't care how many trucks you got to give him, Toothman Ford. Keep him in Morgantown. We don't need him going anywhere else, because I'm sure there's going to be schools calling and offering him plenty of money. But that kid, I don't know if you'll be on the same page here, Brandon. He's the lead back, in my opinion. I love CJ. I think he's a great back. He's not Jaheim.
I think that retaining both of them is extremely ideal, just for the change of pace. You've talked about that before as well. But I think that they're a great 1-2 punch. And when Jaheim rather, sorry, I already need to correct myself. Jaheim is being, Jaheim's, when Jaheim's being effective, I think that he needs a good change of pace with CJ, who can just run over people, which Jaheim can also run over people, but he's more of a scat back, I would say.
Yeah, and he's just not as big. So I mean, yeah, he can run him over, no doubt. But I just think CJ can just lay it into him. You give CJ the ball within, I don't know, 15 yards of the end zone, and that's scary. You give White the ball within 100 yards of the end zone, and that's scary. So I mean, it's true. It's a great 1-2 punch. We should keep them both, but I would not blame CJ for moving on if that's what he wants to do. I would love him to be in Morgantown. I'm not calling for him to not be in Morgantown. I just think the offense is going to now move towards White. I think is really, and it doesn't mean that we can't go 2 back or anything like that, but I think that White's going to be the guy moving forward in the backfield.
Yeah, I'll tell you another guy who really stepped up this year is Hudson Clement. And this is a guy who every single week, when we have to make these 1-2 minute drives, no timeouts or very limited time, this guy just comes out of nowhere, catches everything. It's a hard tackle, and this week he showed it again. He went 4 catches for 80 yards. And I think, 2 or 3 of those were in that final minute drive?
Yeah, he showed up late, man. And I got to be honest with you. When I see Hudson Clement on the field, I'm not like overly impressed, right? Like I'm not like one of those guys who's like, man, he's just such an athletic freak, right? But my God, that kid runs his routes correctly. He gives Garrett time, which is something that you don't see from guys like Hudson. Like he understands exactly what he's going to be in that offense. He knows how to break down a zone, which is impressive. That's why you see when his routes go across the middle, I don't think that's always the plan. I think that he's essentially reading the zone and getting there, and Garrett's looking for him to move, which is working out for them. But 4 for 80 is fantastic coming from him, especially when he's been banged up and we haven't seen him as much.
Yeah, I'll let you go for the next guy. I know since we're talking about wide receivers, there's a guy that you
this
would love to talk to.
This is my boy on this team. I'm going to call him Preston 7-Eleven Fox because he's always open. 3 for 51, and honestly, could have been plenty more. There was that catch where I was really worried about him getting hurt. I think he got like drilled in the back. Got up though, which fantastic to see because he's, arguably our most important player behind Garrett. But he's just the guy that Garrett trusts. You see it. Like the tight window throws that you were talking about with Garrett, those are going to Preston. Like that's who he's looking for. There's a reason for that. It's because when you throw those tight windows, you need to have a sure-handed receiver so you don't get picked. Yep. And Preston's that guy for him. And I'm still obviously very impressed by Preston. I've started to think about this, Brandon. I would like to see Preston not be the return man on punts anymore. I think he's just too important to the offense. Yeah,
that, and he doesn't strike me as, I think the reason they're doing it is because they've had so much trouble. And WVU historically has just had a lot of trouble back all the way to early 2010, 2012 years of people just not being able to field punts. I think Tavon was probably the last person that was good at fielding punts where they didn't change like 4 times in the season for somebody muffing a punt or dropping a punt or something like that. And I think that they've just kind of let him stay in there because he doesn't drop the ball. Like he always catches it,
Yeah.
but I just don't see that he has like the shiftiness or the ability to read, to find the hole to really like take off. I mean, he's good for on punts. Like I think that he can make one guy miss and maybe get 10 or 15 yards, but I don't think he has the take it to the house explosiveness that you'd like to see back there. But definitely, as far as the offense goes, he is definitely one of the most consistent players that we have.
I'd like to see Gallagher be the guy who returns the ball. Or if they
Yeah.
keep if they keep Fox back there, just bring heat every time on a punt and expect a fair catch. Because look at the majority of the returns this year for WVU. The solid majority, and for most teams to be honest, but the solid majority for WVU on punt returns are fair catches.
Yeah.
That's it. So bring heat. That's all you put 10 up and just tell Preston like you're not returning these. You're just catch the ball. That's all we care about because we're trying to block it every time. I think that
To be fair, if we went with that strategy,
transition.
we probably had at least one more win this year. So if we had that strategy going,
100%, and I think that that's something that they're going to do. But I don't know, obviously, what the plans are. But I think Gallagher could be a guy that they put back there. I think unfortunately, we haven't been able to see if he can catch or not because they don't throw him the ball; they just hand it to him. But I think he still plays receiver unless they've changed his position.
Yeah. Moving on, the next, the last guy we'll talk about on offense is someone that everybody again had pretty high hopes for. He kind of delivered. He was in and out, I think. But Cole Taylor, just 4 for 64, which is huge. I think that he had the leading number of targets, if I remember. We don't have the stat in front of me, but if I remember right, I think he had the most targets. And Baylor was also giving up. Baylor was giving up a lot of yards to tight ends going into that game. So I think that was probably the game plan. But I'm impressed with Cole. I'm glad that he has another year. I think that he can be really good. And I know he had kind of a little bit of an injury scare early in the season. I think that maybe that could have been a possibility of why the production was kind of there in the middle of the year. But yeah, I think I'm pretty excited about having him come back, and he's already also announced that he's coming back out as well in some capacity. He didn't directly be like, I'm not going anywhere, but I think he would need a waiver to leave at this point. But yeah, he made a comment on Twitter or Facebook or something that he was excited for next year. So I am also excited for that.
Yeah, he's a good player. I would, in all honesty, though, I would like to see Neal and the offense develop a block heavy tight end. I don't like how much Cole is on the field. One, I don't think he's a great blocker, but two, I just think it creates risk of injury. It also wears him out. Like if you see some of these drops that he has, go back and look at how many plays he's been on the field consecutively when he has those drops. He just is on the field a lot for a big guy. I'd like to see a more of a 2 or 3 tight end rotation. Get a guy in there that can block. Get a guy that focuses on that. Not every tight end has to be a receiving tight end. Let Cole Taylor be your guy, but get somebody in there that's going to be your solid blocker who you're going to be able to use to create some type of a strong formation power, whatever you want to do, and give Cole some time on the sideline where you don't obviously have to take him out and put a smaller wide receiver in. Get a rotation going. And I think they'll probably do that, but I would have liked to have seen that more in this offense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely think they're going to figure out ways to get some other guys in there. I mean, with him being his final year, they're going to want him to be to have some solid production, but they're also going to need to look towards the future of getting the Traylon Davises and guys like that more involved in both the passing and blocking. Traylon Davis is a heck of a blocker.
He can block, dude. That kid, and I think I shouted him out on, I don't know if it was the Baylor game or the game before that, but there was a rush at the goal line, and I want to say it was CJ that got in, and obviously CJ's going to get the credit because he's the ball carrier. You go back and you watch, he doesn't get in the end zone without that block. That kid can block really well. I'm sure he can catch the ball, but I would love to see him on the field more.
Yep, for sure. No, he's he's definitely someone that we'll look to have more snaps, I would
Mhm.
imagine, next year. Anything else about offense
Yep.
from Baylor?
No, I think we got to go to defense now.
Yep. Well, I'll go ahead with our first guy up on our stats here. We had Ben, doesn't need a nickname because his last name is cool. Cutter. He had 10 tackles. And I mean, as a freshman, it's really great to see. He's somebody that I was following his recruitment as far as when WVU offered him and all of that. And it was somebody I was really excited about in this class, but I never imagined he would be playing this year, major minutes at least. And he got thrown into the game essentially. We were really light there, and he's really produced. So that's awesome to have him. Hopefully he's coming back. Obviously, we're recording this prior to the transfer portal officially opening, and that's just going to be a nightmare of next week or so. But yeah, I think that Ben is somebody who's really going to produce for us on defense.
I don't see him leaving. He's too important. Like if you're a linebacker and you're getting the majority of snaps as a freshman, I mean, there's no one that's going to take that job from him right now. That's his job. I also think, in all honesty, the way that the defense is set up, although I think the scheme is terrible, the way that the defense is set up, though, it allows the linebackers to have a lot of play. It allows them to essentially do more of what they specialize in. Ben is all over the field. He's not going to be able to do that at other universities, and I think that's going to hinder his ability to maybe one day, play on Sundays. So I think he's going to stay at WVU. I think, though, he probably has to get a little bit bigger. I think he's 6 foot, like 220. He's probably going to get a little bit bigger because I'm going to assume that they're going to move him around more and probably bring pressure. Now, obviously, he doesn't need to get too big because he still has to remain, to be able to get all over the field. But I think he's got to get a little bit more size on him. But man, that dude, he's just everywhere. He's the guy, he's your workhorse. And he's the guy who's going to be, I would assume, is going to be the captain on that defense moving forward. And is going to be the guy that they all look at. And honestly, if he keeps going the way he is, he's probably going to play on Sundays sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
He's that good.
I mean,
he really is. He's good.
Yeah, he might fill into a West Virginia familiar name of like a Kwiatkowski kind of.
That's who he reminds me of.
Yeah,
I mean that he's not as big. If I remember when he was at WVU, he was a little bit bigger, and that's what I'm saying. I think Ben could get a little bit bigger, but the way that they each play, like they're ball hawks. Like they're not going to go up obviously and pick it, but they're going to find the ball and attack. Like that's what they do. That's what Cutter does. He does it well, and he's what the defense has to have right now at WVU because we don't have guys that are very good at this.
Yeah, no. I definitely think that going forward, I think that especially because we're losing Lee Koba, he's definitely going to be a major participant next year on defense. Obviously, we also don't know exactly what's going on with defense. We've touched on this before, but Jordan Leslie is not a fan favorite, and I think there are going to be some staffing changes. We don't know exactly what's happening yet. Probably won't really know until the end of the year, I would imagine, when contracts are up. But, the scheme could change, but I don't think that he's going anywhere. I think that he's a very important piece right now.
Ben Cutter, not Jordan Leslie.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, you're good. You're good. One last guy I want to highlight on the defense. This is a guy who we've given some crap to at the beginning of the season because we just expected more. He's come on as of late. He showed up against Baylor. It's Aubrey. Glad you finally arrived, Burks. This is 6 total tackles, including a big sack. The sack that he had came at a great time, and it was exactly what the defense needed. This is what we expected from him. Now, he's still not great when a ball carrier gets up the field, and he also gets lost in coverage a lot. Like there was a couple tight end looks across the middle where he just gets totally lost, like gets burned off the ball. I don't understand what happens there, but it's some type of misread on his part. But you can't knock him for his ability to tackle right now. He's doing the things that he's supposed to, which we didn't see at the beginning of the year. So, I mean, I like what I see. I think he still has to get better in coverage, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's getting there.
No, for sure. I mean, I think, from my understanding, the coaches have evaluated him as somebody who can get to the next level. I think that there's still just some development there. I've been pretty openly skeptical of Aubrey Burks, and I continue to do so. I think that he definitely came back from the injury, had a couple of rough games, and then the last few he's definitely started to look like the player everyone says he is. But I think we need to see a full season out of him playing, like he is and better.
Totally agree. Let's go on to the last part of this team. It's the part that we gotta complain about right here. I didn't have a lot of complaints everywhere else. I had plenty here, and that's special teams. First off, I'm gonna call him Michael. Please kick a touchback Hayes, because I don't know if it's by design or not, but man, he has got to boot the ball through the end zone. We're not good enough on coverage to allow them to bring the ball out at the 15 to 20 yard line. We just can't do that. He has to get better at kicking the long ball, or we got to get somebody else in there. The problem that the special teams has is, honestly, it's just like toxic. It's not going anywhere right now, which is going to lead me to the one guy. This is going to break my rule of not hoping people get fired. There's one guy that I think has to be let go.
Yeah.
Can you name him?
I'll let you do it.
Jeff Coons. My God. Why are you the special teams coordinator? You have been terrible for 4 years. 4 years you've been bad. Let's go over, I've got to point this out. They call it the Coons file, which I think is the dumbest thing, but it's on WVU's website. So that's what I'm calling it. Look, he's got some good education, bachelor's from Auburn, master's from Texas. Unfortunately, neither of those universities taught him how to coach special teams. Part of the other problem becomes that he's only coached special teams twice in his entire career, according to WVU's own website. He coached it once for 1 season, Brandon.
Nice.
And that was at Iowa State, and we hadn't even graduated high school yet. 2007, 2008.
Wow.
Then everybody's like, man, this guy really sucks at special teams. So from 2009, when he moved on, I'm assuming he got canned. I'll have to look it up. 2009 to 2019, they didn't let him coach special teams. He coached linebackers, and it was a co-defensive coordinator. Now, for some reason, we think that it's a good idea to make him special teams coordinator, when I don't think he knows who's kicking the ball off. And I mean that by what team is on each side of the field. He is that lost. It's atrocious.
Yeah.
I can't say anything nice about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've had a lot, not just this game, but there's been a lot of close calls. We had one run back on us, the Houston game, which we ended up losing. We had 2 run back on this one where we all, outside the minute drive, we were losing that game. I mean, I think every person on Twitter and social media had already deemed us losers of the Baylor game. So special teams definitely something needs to change there. There's not a whole lot of positive to talk about for the whole season, let alone this game. And I think that you're correct. I think that Coons is probably somebody who's going to get reorged, or he's going to get the boot. But yeah,
well,
other than that, we had...
Last thing I got to point out, Brandon, real quick. In the lone year that he gets to coach special teams in Iowa State, let's just look at this real quick, pal. This is so bad. They go 3-9 that season. 2-6 in the conference. Now, Iowa State, if you remember after this, they start to kind of pick it up. They start to get better. But in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in a ton of kick returns, they don't score a single touchdown. their defense, which he's the linebackers coach, consistently ranks at the bottom there. They only average, let's see, 6.9 yards on a return that season, and their kicker even sucked. But tell me again how this guy should be the special teams coordinator at WVU when he's literally proven nothing. Sorry, I'll jump off this soapbox, but he's a guy, he has to go. It's the only guy that I'm like slamming my fist on the desk and saying like he needs to go. Even Jordan Leslie's not there for me yet, but he is.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. There's definitely got to be a change in some way, and get somebody more proven. Maybe you should get Neil knows the guy from Baylor, the analyst. Maybe we get him to come over here and show us how to run back and block on kickoffs. We'll see. Right.
I mean, get somebody. I don't care who. Go find a high school coach that's good at it. I don't really care, but it's not him. And I don't know if it's because of preparation or what it is, because obviously we're not there, but it's just not working.
I have the perfect guy, actually. I was just thinking about, back. Let's just go look at past Mountaineers who maybe have some experience in the special teams realm. Tim Lindsay, obviously, be the great guy.
Neil Brown, we can get you a guy right now who just happened to be part, for actually what some people would say the biggest part of a fake punt that sealed a win against a team that right now your university, your program probably couldn't get close to, and that's over Georgia. And some say he's still running. So he could run all the way to your special teams room and get them into shape. Because if you go back, Neil, I know you're listening, Neil, go look that highlight up. And look, I know that you're going to think this, Neil. Phil Brady is the best Brady of anyone.
Yes.
Named Brady. He's the most athletic. But I want you to look for the second most athletic guy on that field. And that's the dude snapping the ball. Because if they would have given him the ball, he'd have scored the touchdown twice. He was running 65 miles an hour. It's clocked. Look it up. And, I mean, he's the guy, Brandon. You're right. And Brandon has his phone number. Coach, you just call Brandon up. He'll give you the number. He'll even tell you where he lives. And you just knock and give him a great deal.
Yeah, it's great. He would probably essentially work for free at this point, so...
I think he would have to hire us as assistants, though.
That would be the only way I think it would work, yeah.
Well, that's the only way we're giving up that phone number.
Exactly. Yeah, sorry, Coach, my phone's dead.
So, Coach Neil, you hire Coach Lindsay. Coach Lindsay hires us, and we have the number one special teams in the country. Some say the world.
Or till the end of time.
Some say the world.
Yeah. It's proven, actually. Yep.
All right. Well, we just solved that problem.
Easy peasy. Anything else about Baylor specifically?
We're moving on from Baylor. We're moving to the bowl game.
Love it.
That's how I feel. I'm doing the Bill Belichick. We're on to the bowl game.
We're on to the bowl game. Well, to recap the season, 8-4, which we already touched on.
Yep.
Broke everybody's expectations. Vegas, Kirk Herbstreit, everybody.
Broke his
heart. And
his wallet.
Tied for 4th in the Big 12. Yeah, we don't know the details, but there's got to be something there. But yeah, tied for 4th in the Big 12, which, again, supposed to be 14th. Tied for 4th. Some said that Neil was in the running for Coach of the Year. I know people who listen probably don't completely agree with that, but improving 10 spots from beginning of season to where you finish, getting a bowl game, pretty big deal. Gundy ended up winning it just because he is improved, I think, 5 or 6 spots from the initial rankings, and also made the Big 12 title. And going into even like what was it, Game 4, Game 5, if they were looked at being one of the worst teams in the Big 12, now they're playing Texas, and I think they're still looking like one of the worst teams in the Big 12. But I think
they're down 42 to
still
14
a pretty good coaching job. Obviously, yeah, as we speak. Gundy did a good job, so I agree. I think Gundy was a good pick for that.
I hate it. I think Neil Brown was the coach of the year, and I'm not trying to be a homer because trust me, there were plenty of times where I was like, I was not on the Neil bandwagon at times, but Oklahoma State is the team. Like, yeah, I get it. Where they were during like 4 games in, people were like, man, I can't believe this is Oklahoma State. But then look at the end of the season, though, Brandon. No one's going, wow, I can't believe Oklahoma State's here. No one's doing that because Oklahoma State, it's a program that's had this happen before. Mike Gundy's a coach that's done this before. I get it. Neil Brown, everyone, look up any article about WVU right now, and they're all titled, "We don't know how they got here." So, in my opinion, Neil Brown is the coach of the year easily because Oklahoma State, you look at them and you look at the talent on that team at the beginning of the year, even towards the middle of the year, you're like, okay, that team could easily turn it around. No one said that about WVU. No one.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think
hang the banner. That's what I'm saying. Hang the banner.
Yeah, hang the banner. I think give him the award for the office. I want to see the.
And they lost 45-3 against UCF. They lost 45-3 at UCF, and that was in November.
That's true.
So
yeah,
no, I'm not on the Mike Gundy train there. Yeah,
yeah,
and they lost to South Alabama.
Yeah, that's where everyone thought they were just going to be the worst team ever.
Well, they lost to
UCF. Yeah, I think that Neil definitely had a case. I don't doubt that at all. But I think it's probably, yeah, for sure. You would have won.
Would have won that case.
I think that what it came down to is just Gundy having a history in the Big 12, and he's consistently doing this kind of thing where his team, you can never count him out, which I told the listeners, I think, back when we were previewing Oklahoma State, actually. This is just Gundy. You can't count him out. And then he looked really bad against UCF, and now he's still in the Big 12 title game. So don't ever count him out. I think that's the moral of that story.
He's physically there. His team didn't really show up, but he's there. Yeah. I've seen him on the sideline. But they are getting annihilated right now. Let's see. Just a quick update because I want to make sure that we've got this down. It does not appear that Arch Manning. Oh my God, Texas scored again. It's 48-14 right now. Arch Manning should be coming into this game pretty soon. So that'll be exciting, I guess.
That's really, this is going to work out for us, I believe. I think this, I talked to you about this offline.
Don't spoil it yet. Don't spoil it yet. Don't tell him your bowl projection. Right. We're going to get there, pal. We're going to get there.
But I feel like it's kind of changing looking at the outcome of this game. It's kind of changing.
All right, well, let's bump it up. Let's bump it up right now.
Bump it up? Bump it.
Yeah, bump it. Bump it straight up here. Let's go. Brandon, give us your thoughts. What's it going to do for us?
Well, I think that Texas making a statement in this game really helps out. Obviously, there's a lot of play to still happen today with conference championships that can really change everything. But I think that it gives them a chance to get into the CFP, which increases our odds of playing in a better bowl game. And I think that wholeheartedly, I hope that they just get the wheels blown off or the doors blown off, whatever you want to call it, as soon as they get to the CFP. But I need them to get there so that way WVU can get into a better bowl game.
That's fair. That is fair. My issue is I'm not convinced that Texas is going to get in anyway. Because let's face it, we said this for a while now, and it is true. the Big Ten bias is insane. It's
Yeah.
that conference isn't that good. They have two good teams. Iowa is in their championship. Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a bogus thing because they have divisions.
I get that. I get that. But the fact that Iowa can continue to score 7 points and win should show you the value of at least half of that conference. Not great. But I think that Ohio State is going to get in before Texas if Florida State loses. Because I think what my projection would be, assuming that everybody else wins that's supposed to win, Georgia wins, Michigan wins, Washington already won, spoiler alert, I think Ohio State would probably take that 4th seed when it comes to the playoff committee. I just don't trust the committee. I don't trust the committee, to be honest.
I just don't trust Ohio State. I think that the one time they played a quality team this year, they got beat against their biggest rival. I'm not completely sold on Ohio State, and I don't think anyone else is either. I think Texas showing out, and I mean, it's impossible in my mind. It's impossible that Ohio State gets to play no conference championship, and then they move up. I think that would just be dumb. When you have a team like Texas, who I hate them, but shows that they're the dominant force in the Big 12. And there should be a team from the Big 12 in the CFP. I think that's just the way it should be. So
totally agree.
I don't see any reason why we should be doubling up on SEC teams or Big 10 teams or whatever. We can easily have one of each team from the ACC is not looking super promising right now because Florida State doesn't have their best player essentially. So they're probably going to lose, and then you have one of each from the Big 10, the Pac-12, SEC, and the Big 12. And I just think that just makes the most sense. I think that the CFP committee system that they're using is extremely flawed if they decide to put Ohio State in there, if everything stays as it is. I don't know how you reward a team who doesn't get to play a game by increasing their rank. That doesn't make any sense.
The problem is that the College Football Playoff Committee is, well, there's just no check on them. That's part of my issue with them. Now, I will say the one thing that worries me about a Big 12 team getting in, and this will be interesting if this happens, there's no way that Georgia doesn't get in. If Georgia loses tonight, they're still getting in. I'm calling that now. There's no way that they're not getting in. They may go from 1 to 4, but they're getting in. It will be interesting, though, if Alabama beats Georgia. Obviously, they'd be the number 1 team in the country. The College Football Playoff Committee will then have to compare Texas to Alabama. Texas has beaten Alabama, but Texas does not have a win at, that Georgia win. So it will be interesting to see what they choose there. I think that they're going to slight Texas there, give it to Bama if they win, and we're going to see Georgia and Bama in probably the second game, because they'll probably be 2-3.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I just don't see it happening. I don't think Alabama is anywhere close to the team that they're ranked as right now. So
I agree.
Georgia,
I think
I don't think Georgia is as good as they are either. But yeah, I'm not super convinced with Georgia this year either. Still good. But they're definitely good. But
they're good. I mean, Carson Beck, the quarterback there, has been playing out of his mind. But he also has every weapon that that you could give him. Anyway, that's our take there. Let's get back onto WVU though. The one thing that you were talking about was, obviously, if Texas gets in, it benefits us because it kind of pushes us up in terms of the bowl selections, because Texas will be taking a CFP spot. So, that being said, Brandon, do you have a projection on what the bowl game would be for WVU? What's your take? Where do you think that this happens?
I think most likely, looking at the options for Big 12 teams, I think that most likely and this is just speculation and my opinion.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
I think most likely we're going to be in an East Coast Bowl. And my original thought was possibly Armed Forces Bowl, but I think with the way the Texas game is going, I'm just gonna bump us up to like Liberty Bowl, I think, in Memphis.
Okay.
And I think that's probably our most likely chance of staying on the East Coast. I think is probably the Liberty Bowl. Otherwise, if they, I would say my two. I'll just give my top two here. I think Liberty Bowl is number one. I think it's because of demographic. I think that just makes the most sense. But the other one I believe would be the Tax Act Bowl in Texas.
Okay. I like both those. Here's my projection, and it has less to do with football and more to do what I want. And that is WVU, based off my opinion, fact, write it down, circle it. This is what's going to happen. Probably not, but here it is. WVU is going to go to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and I have two reasons for that. One, WVU loves Orlando. They love Florida. Love to travel there. WVU travels well to two places, Florida and Myrtle Beach. Both solid. That being said, there's also another reason I think this is going to happen. The game that's going to be played on December 28th, Brandon, in Orlando, like I mentioned, will feature, this drum roll please, will feature the first edible mascot. Are you kidding me? This is the most WVU thing. This is the most WVU thing that I've ever wanted in my entire life, because here's the crazy part. The winner of the matchup will revel in the celebration by eating a very large Pop-Tart. Very large toaster treat, as otherwise put. There's no word yet, Brandon, on what the flavor will actually be. This is, in my opinion,
I'm just going to write it down.
This is, in my opinion, the Super Bowl of bowl games, based off the facts that I've presented here today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that of the teams that are in line potentially, because essentially we will be competing for that particular bowl game with Iowa State and Kansas State, I think would be the other selections in order. And I think that we're the most likely to have the best travel, I would imagine, of the three teams. You have people who have to come essentially across over half of the country to get there. Obviously, Orlando is a good destination because of Disney World and Universal and all that stuff. But I don't know. I mean, I'm with you. I really hope that it's the Pop-Tarts Bowl, but I think that we'll get snubbed and probably end up with like Liberty or Tax Act or something like that. They would love to make us travel and then be like, West Virginia fans don't want to go to Texas. And it's like, yeah, you're right, because kind of boring. So
do you know what is crazy though, Brandon? You know what's crazy? So speaking on this bowl game that we're definitely going to, the Pop-Tarts Bowl in Orlando, Florida, where there'll be the first ever edible mascot. The crazy thing is, it is I believe, is it Pac-12, Big 12? Is that what those are? Yeah, I think it is. But the crazier thing is, there's a third option there. Do you know who that option is?
Oh,
there's
no.
only three types of things that have been played, okay, in this bowl game, because it used to be the Blockbuster Bowl too.
And Cheddar's, the Cheez-Its Bowl.
Cheez-Its Bowl, yep. It's let me look. Yeah, because it is historically I think it's actually the ACC Big 12. Sorry, I misspoke. Not Pac-12. ACC.
Yeah, ACC.
Big 12. But there's one other team that has been featured, and it makes sense for this, and will be categorized as it. But it's Notre Dame. Like, that's the only when Notre Dame was independent, like they were also the team that got to go to this bowl. So I would love, and I'm calling it now, Brandon, Notre Dame WVU back to Florida. Rematch. Winner takes home the 1988 National Championship trophy.
I think it only makes sense, actually. Now that you bring that up.
Hang the banner in 88. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. No, I would love that because I have a feeling that their starting quarterback probably won't be playing in that game. So
that's true. I also want to be able to wear my shirt that I have, which it just is a WVU shirt, and it says, "Not all Catholics root for Notre Dame. Go WVU." I want to be able to make sure I've got that freshly pressed for that Pop-Tarts game that will feature the first edible mascot in Orlando, Florida, which we'll be at that game. WVU will be. So you're welcome.
Yeah, and so will we. But anyways.
Anyway, I digress.
All right, let's move on to the final segment where we're going to talk about some made-up awards that are extremely official.
Not made up.
For our official for the podcast here. So these are all Neer Sighted awards. We came up with the names of these. They're super unique and creative. So let's start with the offense. What do we got first here?
Oh, let's start out. Let's start out as the newcomer. Okay, our freshman standout. And I know some of you are asking, could it be Jahim? It is Jahim White. Don't call him Jaheim. Jahim White, because he is him. Got to be the freshman standout this year. So he's getting it without a doubt. I can't name another freshman in the Big 12 who's been as important at least the last 6 games of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he made also the true freshman All-American as a running back, the team.
I know.
So
incredible.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Easy pick there.
Oh,
easy pick.
Yeah, that was super easy. That's like not even
no-brainer.
Not even a surprise. But you know what is a pleasant surprise? And that's our next award.
Oh,
the pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Hudson Clement came out of nowhere.
Oh my god.
Came out of nowhere. Obviously people in West Virginia knew. Yeah, I would say people in West Virginia knew who he was. He scored like 47 touchdowns in the championship game in high school, but yeah, Hudson Clement, he was a walk-on and a scout player, and then all of a sudden one game they were just like, hey, let's throw this guy in here, and then he goes off and has 180 yards against Duquesne, which is what it is, but it's still he continued to produce the rest of the season. They put him on scholarship. This is definitely the biggest pleasant surprise on offense of this year.
Kid's incredible. I mean, he could have quit. I mean, he could have been like, look, I'm not going to go to WVU as a walk-on. I scored enough points. I'll go to play D2, but didn't.
Sure.
Came to WVU to prove himself, did. And now, in all honesty, has a very bright future in this program. So yeah, obviously, and without a doubt, the pleasant surprise of the year. Let's go on to our third award, Brandon. And this is the guy, he could get every award, if we're being honest here, except for freshman, because he's not one. But he could get anything.
And not pleasant surprise either, but yeah.
Nope, pleasant surprise. He's a pleasant surprise every time he walks on the field. And that is Zach Frazier. The guy is the most selfless Mountaineer. That's the award, the Selfless Mountaineer Award. Zach Frazier. Brandon, I won't have any kids, but when you have kids, I will tell your kids about the day that Zach Frazier broke his leg, didn't want his team to have to take a timeout or have a runoff because of the injury, bear clawed with 2 hands and 1 foot while his other completely broken left leg is stretched all the way out, and this dude got off the field galloping like a one-legged horse. It was so majestic, and I think it's quite fitting that he is the most selfless Mountaineer. And to be honest, to have that like wherewithal to know that that's what's happening at that time period, he could have easily laid down and forced him to take the timeout or take a 10-second run off or whatever. That didn't happen, obviously. Dude was like, I got to get off the field. I'm not going to leave my team out, on a stretcher, for I guess a lack of a better term. And I mean, there's nothing bad you can say about this guy, and I can't wait for him to be a Cincinnati Bengal. I'm calling it now.
Not to mention the fact the play it happened on, he literally picked up Hudson Clement and ran him down the field.
Incredible.
It's like he wasn't the ball carrier, but he was the ball carrier.
Right. He literally carried the ball carriers carrying the ball. Incredible. That's the only word I can use for it. I've said it 3 times. It is incredible. Zach Frazier will be at the top of every team's draft list when it comes to interior offensive line, and they will play that on repeat, showing how tough that dude is. He will be, I'm going to say it, he's going to be a second-round pick. I think so. Had he not gotten hurt, I would have put him in the first round. Second-round pick. I hope that he really likes Cincinnati chili because he's going to have to get used to it, as he will be a Cincinnati Bengal come next year.
I still think that they haven't really said he's not playing in our bowl game, but the potential to play in the Senior Bowl might still be on the table. I don't know. Don't know the complete extent of his injury, but no, he already had surgery and everything. So
right,
yeah. So
that February,
yeah, I think so. January, end of January, something like that.
Yeah, it'll be close. If he plays,
yep.
Brandon, if he plays in that Senior Bowl, first round pick, calling it.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Is I think that's going to be the major determination. And there's also going to be some people who look at that and be like, I mean, he got tackled on his leg by a defensive lineman while he was carrying a ball carrier. Like the dude went 4 years with no injuries. Like I wouldn't put him as an injury risk and lower his draft stock. Like it was a kind of an odd play. Probably something he wouldn't ever need to do in the NFL if I was to guess. So, but yeah, for sure, he's definitely a second round. Yeah, that would be funny.
Make sure Joe doesn't get hurt anymore. He's going to pick him up and run him to the end zone.
Well, the next award, I'm going to let you actually do the next award. I think it's most appropriate that you do it.
Yeah, this makes most sense. I have been saying this ad nauseum for everyone to hear. I said the first one was a no-brainer, and it was. Don't get me wrong. Freshman standout, Jaheim White. The biggest no-brainer of any award that we will ever give is this one right here. The hardest worker award. And it's not going to Pam Beasley. It's going to Preston 7-Eleven Fox. This dude doesn't take plays off. He's exactly the kind of guy that you want on your sideline in the game. You want him to be your player. You want to be his coach because he may not have every attribute that Marvin Harrison Jr. has, right? No doubt about it. Marvin Harrison Jr., obviously generational. A lot of these guys are generational. He's not a generational talent. But my God, if he doesn't have a generational work ethic on that field. Dude doesn't take plays off, understands what he's supposed to do on the field, doesn't try to do too much. And by that, I mean doesn't try to put himself in positions that will make him vulnerable or not be able to make a play. Just understands exactly what his role is and always exceeds it on the field. Easy pick here. Preston Fox, hardest worker.
Yep, and our final award, which we're going to do these for offense and defense. So the final award for the offense is going to be the Dog Award.
Dog.
And I think everybody knows that's watched our offense that the one true dog on offense is Garrett Green.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
GG.
Garrett is, GG. He put the offense on his back. He's exactly what you want in a quarterback. He took control. He kept he made the statement and got everybody ready to play every single game. He's just, every time we've needed him to go out and score with less than 2 minutes or 1 minute, he just does it. He makes it happen, and he's a game changer. I'm really excited for the future with him, and that's why he definitely deserves this award.
1000%. Dude's a dog. Look, Zach Frazier carries the ball carriers. Garrett Green carries the offense. That's how this works. Glad that guy's on our team. That's all I can say.
No, for sure. Well, moving on to defense, we're going to do the same awards. We've got freshman standout, pleasant surprise, selfless mountaineer, hardest worker, and dog. So freshman standout, Ben Cutter, without a doubt.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He got thrown into the mix. We were low on people, and he just showed up and showed out. I think that, again, somebody that we're really excited about, and his stats speak for himself. The guy was a stud in high school, and he's going to be a stud in college. And I think that he showed the maturity of being able to play a major time. I mean, he essentially, I think he started every game after Trey Lathan got hurt in TCU, so that would have been game 5, game 4. And he just never missed a beat. So definitely the freshman standout in my eyes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ben Cutter is the dude. That's what I'm going to call him. Ben the Dude Cutter. Honestly, my opinion, had Ben Cutter not been a freshman, he might have taken the hardest worker award. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Could have. However, let's go on to the pleasant surprise. I want you to talk about this one because I got to hype up the next two guys. The next two guys I have to hype up. So I want you to hype this dude up. Who is the pleasant surprise winner, Brandon?
Well, on defense, I think this is like an asterisk next to it, right? Because my pick is Trey Lathan. I think that he was a very pleasant surprise. He was somebody who we knew about and were looking to definitely have some time with. But he took over, and he was a very, very dominant force on defense until he got injured at TCU. So to me, asterisk next to it, because he was injured, didn't play a full season. I believe that he was the pleasant surprise on defense.
Yeah. Again, could have been Ben Cutter. I'm just going to keep saying that.
Yep.
That's how important Ben Cutter is to this team.
Yep. Totally agree.
But anyway, Trey is fantastic. I can't wait for him to be back. This next award, I compare this guy. Do you know, Brandon, we were at the St. John's game last night, and obviously there was a person who sang the national anthem, okay?
Yeah.
When they sing the national anthem, Brandon, what are you staring at?
The flag.
Right. You're focused on the flag, okay? Now, I'm going to use an analogy here. The defense is the flag. But someone has to be holding that flag, Brandon. Somebody has to be the guy holding the flag. Could be 1,000 people holding it at the Super Bowl. Could just be a guardsman, holding it while they're doing the national anthem. You see the flag as the general picture, but you got to look at the guy holding it. Because the most selfless mountaineer, just like that person, is very selfless to hold the flag while we sing a 3-minute song and their arms are probably really tired. Mike Lockhart, the most selfless mountaineer on the defensive side of the ball. The dude is a gigantic man. I mean that in the best way possible. As a fellow big person, they don't just call me Big John for nothing. As a fellow big person, Mike Lockhart, 1, makes me look small, and 2, you never hear him complain. He's a guy that you're going to see make plays in the NFL. He may not go drafted, I don't know, but somebody's going to use him as a nose tackle. He knows how to stuff the run plays. We saw him get a sack here a couple weeks ago, which was incredible to see. His big old 336-pound body, or however big he is. Big dude. He can stuff the hole. He can move over, allow a linebacker to blitz. The guy knows how to be your nose tackle. You're going to see him on Sundays, at least for some point. He's the most selfless mountaineer by far to me on the defensive side of the ball, because you don't hear his name a lot, but you know he's doing the dirty work.
Yep. He doesn't show up on the stat sheet a whole bunch, but he is helping those other guys get home. So I agree. Selfless mountaineer for sure.
Yeah. The next guy, I got to bring him up. I'm going to leave the last one for you because I know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I know you like the. I know you like the dog. I know you like the dog. So, not that I don't. Not that I don't. He's just not my boy. But one of my boys is the hardest worker on this defense. Again, could have been Ben Cutter. Just going to keep saying it. Could have been Ben Cutter. However, this guy also could have been the pleasant surprise as well, Brandon.
Yeah.
Beanie Bishop. Now, he came in, if everybody remembers, he transferred in from Minnesota, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't have very much playing time there. Makes the change. Could have obviously went down and not bet on himself to be a starting corner in a Power 5 conference. Didn't do that. Said, I'm going to go to WVU, where it's the most pass-happy conference, and I'm just going to start, I don't know, picking everyone off and making sure that my team gets the ball when, in all honesty, we probably shouldn't have it. Beanie Bishop is the best coverage corner on this team that we've 100%. Seen on the field. He is the only guy, and I said this a few weeks ago, and you agreed, he's the only guy on this team that I would put on an island with the other team's best receiver. He's the only guy.
Yep.
Now, will he lose some battles? Sure, every corner will. But Beanie Bishop not only is super quick, turns his hips really well, but the dude also will blow you up when you catch that ball.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it. He's the hardest worker on this defense, Brandon. What do you think?
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think that Beanie really was a bright spot on defense, and which was hard to watch at times. He led the nation in ball hawking and pass breakups. He had 4 or 5 interceptions, many that he should have had interceptions on as well. Some very crucial tackles. I mean, the dude, when he was off the ball, was on the ball as soon as possible. If the pass wasn't his way, he was making a tackle. He made some great downfield tackles, running somebody down. He's quick. He's definitely a guy that I wish we had more time with.
Yeah, 100%. I think that I'm gonna keep saying 100%. I keep thinking about Lee, and when I see Lee, I look at that guy and I go, "Yeah, I wouldn't fight him. I wouldn't fight anybody on this team. I'd get my butt kicked." But for sure him. I look at him like, nah, yeah. That dude would destroy me in a second. Now you put shoulder pads and a helmet on him, even scarier. That's a guy I don't want to line up across if I'm an offensive lineman. And I definitely don't want to catch the ball across the middle if he's playing linebacker. So you're right. That's the dog of this defense. Random update for you, Brandon, because I know that some of our listeners obviously live in West Virginia and care about high school football. The Martinsburg Bulldogs, which several of our players went to, just won their 10th state title in 13 years, 57-13.
That's close.
So not close. Not close. They actually won by more points than Texas beat Oklahoma State. Pretty impressive, huh?
Yeah. Yep, Texas final was 49-21.
Yeah, so Martinsburg, turns out, still good.
Yep, and back to Lee Koba being the dog. I did get some news that he had to go to the doctor recently, and they did an x-ray. And he got that dog in him, and that's
he got that dog in him.
He got that dog in him,
dude. Lee walked in and they said no CAT scans for this dog. No CAT scans. X-ray him. Find out if he's got the dog. They got the dog. You can't CAT scan a dog. Cannot CAT scan him. MRI or bust.
Yep. He another guy that I really wish we had more time with. But he was the clear leader on the defense this year. You could see him. He was moving people around. He's controlling everybody, even up to the line. He looks back and he's moving the safeties and the defensive backs around. He just was the guy. I mean, he's the most vocal person on the defense. He's going to be definitely missed this year or next year. Sorry, and he's definitely got that dog in him.
Dog. Got the dog. Well, Brandon, before we wrap this up, normally this is where we would pick teams. We would pick against the spread, pick for the spread. We'd pick them all, okay?
Yep.
And I'd get on the horn, okay? I'd call Vegas. I'd let them know. I'm not doing that this week. We're not doing that this week. But I do want to point out just to our listeners that Vegas did help you a little bit, but it's not in the Big 12. It's over there in the SEC. Georgia is currently only a 5.5-point favorite. I think they blow out Alabama out of the water, win by at least 9. So after you win a bunch of money betting Georgia, don't forget to call Vegas. I just want to give that update, Brandon.
Yeah, when you can take that money and in John's eyes, make a trip down to Orlando to have a piece of the first edible mascot at the Pop-Tart Bowl.
I will rush the field. Snag a bite, and run. Because I got that dog in me.
I guess to just before we close here, what's your favorite flavor of Pop-Tarts?
Oh, my favorite flavor is the cinnamon Pop-Tarts.
Okay.
I love those things.
Fair choice.
I love them. What's yours?
I'm a strawberry. Yeah, strawberry guy. I got a box of them right now.
Yep. You look at Brandon's face, you say that's a strawberry guy. You know it off the bat. Makes total sense. I will be also real quick, Brandon, before we jump off here. Last thing, I know we said this 3 times now. Last thing, give me your prediction when we go to the Pop-Tart Bowl. What will be the flavor?
Ooh. I mean, my guess is I feel like blueberry is very popular.
That's my guess too.
I would hope it's strawberry. I just think that makes the most sense because it's the best Pop-Tart. But I do think that blueberry seems to be the most popular.
What if it's blue and goldberry?
Well, I mean, that would be great because we're going to win. So,
or gold and blueberry. Oh my gosh. Wow.
What if it's just mustard and blueberry flavored?
Gross. Anyway, I will still jump on the field and take a bite because I got that dog in me.
Yep.
Good episode, Brandon. Good episode.
Absolutely.
Very
there's only one thing
solid.
left to say.
And that is for your 8-4 Mountaineers. Let's go!